Welcome back, guys. As always, Hot Mess Espresso is very proudly sponsored by 502 Media. We have Rachael Woodard on the podcast today, who is also a podcast host. She is the podcast host of Abiding Hysteria, which I cannot wait to dive into, which it's also one of the reasons why I had to have her on. I saw the podcast title and I was like, must have. So, hi, Rachel.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, of course. Okay, so abiding hysteria, where did that come from? I know that it represents quite a bit and you're very passionate about it, so let's just dive into it. Where did I can't talk today. Where did abiding hysteria come from?
So, the idea behind the podcast is to give a platform to women and gender diverse people who have had major struggles in getting equitable health care.
Mhm,
And the reason that I started this whole thing is because I have had my own personal journey with chronic illness and chronic pain.
mhm,
And in that journey, I've come across people who have been less than fair when it came to my healthcare and who have at least some form of implicit negative bias against me, but
mhm.
also people who have had positive bias, like saying things like, you're too young to have this disabling chronic condition, or you're too
Okay.
pretty to be disabled, kind of, that kind of thing, where it's like there's the positive bias, which is harmful as well. And then you
Yeah.
got the negative implicit bias too. And so it's kind of working on detangling all of these threads that make up the bias that we face in
Mhm,
medicine,
mhm.
and not only on the part of the patients but on the part of the people who are the professionals in the industry as well. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from. My healthcare journey started around 2010 was when things got really intense for me. And ever since then, I've been trying to advocate for myself, which is really difficult thing to do when you're dealing with people in positions of authority, or at least you imagine that they're in a place of authority in your life. So when you come to a doctor for the first time, you don't know them, they don't know you. All they know about you is something that's on a piece of paper. So it can
Mhm.
be really daunting to go to a doctor's appointment for the first time with a new person and have to educate them on who you are. So, and sometimes that involves unpacking some trauma every time you go to a new professional. So it's
Mhm.
all about trying to get our stories out there so that we can find a community with each other, and also sort of start to take down the foundations of this bias with each other and with the professionals who are working with us.
1,000%. And to kind of the positive bias, I've gotten that a lot. People are like, you're too young to be like on a cane and permanently disabled. And I'm like, yep, sure am. However, this is just because I became very suddenly permanently disabled when I was 19. My
Mm,
back just completely, basically all but blew up on me. So having to deal with chronic pain, chronic illness, medical PTSD, which I will die on the hill that it is a thing. Um, you know, it's something that's very close to me because I've experienced it. I can't tell you how many times my mother or I have been on medical notes is like irate or aggressive or whatever. And all we're trying to do is be like, hey, this is actually happening. I'm not a drug seeker. I'm not this. I'm not that. Like, you need to listen. And they don't.
yeah. Yeah, it's really difficult to get people to listen once they've gotten defensive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's up to us as the patients to be like almost coddling a professional into making a decision that we want them to think was their decision, but was actually ours the whole time. It's
Mm-hmm.
weird that you have to be almost manipulative in order to get a
Yeah.
correct diagnosis. It's like,
It's not, yeah.
it's
It's not even
you shouldn't have
almost.
to do that. You shouldn't have to even make any of those decisions yourself. You should be able to just come in with symptoms and say, hey, here's my symptoms. What can we do now?
And like, I totally understand that doctors have seen it all and they have seen many people come in front of us that have kind of tainted their view, but at the same time you can't just be like, oh, it's another one. Like when I would go to the ER for these pain episodes, and I mean, I couldn't handle it at home, and they'd be like, "Well, did you take Tylenol?" And I'm like, "No." That there's been times where I've been to the ER and they'll start with Tylenol, and I'm just kind of like, if Tylenol worked, I wouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's you see them get the look on their face when you're like, "Hey, this one doesn't work, this one doesn't work. This drug on this thing, like this formula works." And you just see it. They're just like, okay, she's just trying to get high." And it's like, actually, no, I'm not. I just want to stop feeling like my entire body's on fire because my nervous system is not only on fire mentally, but like physically as well at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't help when you're super emotional, especially when you have chronic conditions, because it
Hmm.
flares you up anyways.
Yeah.
But if you're already flared up and having these symptoms, and then
Yeah.
somebody's dismissing those symptoms, it's going to make it worse.
Well, and I think like when they're like, what do you on a scale of 1 to 10? And you can calmly say an 8. And they're just like, yeah, sure, Jan. And it's like, because I deal with this daily. And honestly, if I lost my mind every time my pain level was over a 5, I wouldn't get anything done.
Mm-hmm.
Be involuntarily committed, basically. So it's just really, really frustrating. As I know that it needs to change overall. What has your journey been like from 2010 to now?
So in 2010, I started dropping things a lot at work. I
Mhm.
was working in a print shop, and I was taking orders over the phone and stuff, and I would drop pens all the time while I was writing.
Mm.
And eventually it got to the point where I was like dropping printed materials that were going to be sold to people that just fell on the ground. So I'd have to
Mhm.
redo them. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, I need to see a doctor because it's super painful. When I got home, I could barely move my hand. And I was getting to the point where I was like weeping every day after work. It was so bad. And so I went to a wrist specialist because my parents, who are both brass players, had carpal tunnel surgery and had issues with their wrists and stuff like that because of, repeated motion injuries essentially from playing
Yeah.
instruments. And so I was like, well, clearly it's carpal tunnel. That's what's going on. So I see a wrist specialist. He runs some tests. He listens, and then he goes, "Have you ever had your neck checked out?" And I was like, "Why would I get my neck checked out? That has
Mhm.
nothing to do with my wrist." And he's like, "Well," and it turns out that my neck had been curved totally backwards from what it should
Mm.
be. And
Mhm.
so I got a workup from a chiropractor at the time just because I was trying to find some relief. And they did x-rays, and he said my x-ray of my neck was going into his top 10 weird x-rays because it was backwards, but it didn't have any scar tissue, or at least no indications of scarring in between the vertebrae. So if it had been from like an accident or something like that, or if something had happened in an injury, then I probably would have had scar tissue, but there was no scar tissue there. It was just curved backwards. So it was either genetic or like I was just built strangely.
Mhm.
But in any case, what happened was I had a disc in my cervical spine that was punching into my spinal cord,
Mhm.
and that's what was affecting my right hand. So
Yeah.
I talked to an orthopedic surgeon. I had some physical therapy, which did not go very well. And it turns out that I also had low back issues. And so I was dealing with chronic pain in my low back at the same time as dealing with the neck issues. And so I started getting injections in my neck, which did help for a little while. But after a while, they just stopped being effective,
Mhm.
and it was time for surgery. So I had surgery, um, and I was able to use my right hand immediately out of surgery. It was a huge game changer. I'm really glad that I had it done. Um, but after that point, I had to have another neck surgery, and getting to the point where I was allowed to have that surgery by the same surgeon was a process that I hope
Mhm.
nobody ever has to go through, because they didn't believe me when I was having similar pain in my left hand. They, the physician's assistant actually yelled at me that it's not your neck, after I challenged her several times, saying, well, the last time you guys diagnosed me, you had to diagnose me through uh, laminoscopy, I think it was what it was called. Essentially, the coating around your nerves.
Mhm.
They had to test with a dye the coating around my nerves to finally
Yeah.
find out what was causing all of the problems. And
Right.
that's how they found out. They didn't
Mhm.
find out through an MRI, so they didn't use that to diagnose it. And I was like, well, if an MRI didn't work to diagnose it the first time, why would it work the second time? And
Right.
so finally, I got the test done. I needed surgery again. And so I had that done. In the meantime, my back was getting worse. So eventually, I ended up having to have a low back partial disc removal on one side, because my legs were giving out to the point where, like, I was barely walking. Um, and this was right when I was trying to go to grad school for the first time.
Of course.
So I ended up having to withdraw from grad school and
Mhm.
take care of that first. And in the meantime, like, during all of this, I had met the man that was now my husband. Um, and he had been a huge help through all of this, and just amazing in terms of, like, if I brought him to an appointment, I would get listened to the first time. And it was really interesting to see the difference in
Mhm.
people's mannerisms and how they would talk to me when it was just me versus the both of us. And so for a lot of these appointments, I had him with me, because I was like, they're not going to listen unless you're there.
Mhm.
And it was really interesting to see the difference between those two, especially when dealing with male doctors. Now, I have had some really great male doctors too. Like, my
Mhm.
neurologist is freaking
Ugh.
fantastic.
Yes.
He listens every time and, like, has action items for every single bullet point I come in with. Um, and the neurosurgeon that I saw for my latest two surgeries, one was the low back and one was my neck again, um, was absolutely phenomenal. The first appointment I had with him was almost 3 hours long, of going through all of my records on my spine up to that point
Mhm.
and going, okay, what's our gameplay here? How long do we have before the next surgery has to happen? Absolutely has to, or it will start to give permanent damage to my nerves.
Mhm.
And we laid out a game plan and got it done. And I'm so upset because he just moved across the country. So I'm going to have to find another one if the time comes that I need another surgery in the future. But in the
Mhm.
meantime, I've developed, I've had migraines since I was a kid, and PCOS since I was a young child. Um, Thankfully, I got diagnosed the first time that I was seen by a gynecologist when I was 12. But that was because I was absolutely riddled with cysts at 12
Ugh.
years old before I'd even had a period. So,
Funny.
it was not a great way to get diagnosed, but at least the diagnosis happened for me, and
Mhm.
that's a big deal, considering how difficult it is even now to be diagnosed with PCOS.
Mhm.
So I've had that going on for a long time, the migraines, and then the spinal issues, which may or may not be degenerative disc disease. We're still kind of trying to figure that out. Um, we're right now trying to figure out which autoimmune disease I have, not if, um, with a rheumatologist who is amazing. She's amazing. Just, I cannot express how much I love her. Because when I came in, she was like, you have a lot of symptoms and they're kind of all over the place. And I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, but I've worked with other rheumatologists who just kind of said fibromyalgia out of, like, automation almost, because they
Mhm.
couldn't find anything that was, like, right on the surface and easy to diagnose. And as I understand it, autoimmune diseases are extremely difficult to diagnose no matter
Mhm.
what you've got. So we're just kind of starting from the top and working our way down from, like, the easiest to diagnose and also the most dangerous and needing to be like triaged down the line. But she's great. I love her so far. She has given me so much more information than any other rheumatologist I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then also dealing with POTS and
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out the extent of that diagnosis, because it started out as vasovagal syncope, but then they did a tilt table test, which I failed miserably. and
Yeah.
and they were like, okay, it's probably POTS now, but like I've still got to get other heart scans done and stuff like that. So it's an
Mm-hmm.
ongoing journey, but one of many threads that all need detangling, and it's a lot. And I understand, especially coming from the perspective of like a family doctor, that I am a lot to take on. And so when I see a family doctor for the first time, I go, okay, here's the list of everything that's going on. Here are the people who are taking care of all of these things. I just need you to kind of help me put all the pieces together.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I kind of learned the hard way too that your hands and your wrists have to do with your neck because on top of everything else going on with my spine, I have a hi buddy. I have a lipoma, which is just I don't even know what it is, but it's just a large like thing that's in my neck. And they literally were like, we're gonna let it be and we're gonna leave it because in my spine until you start struggling with your fine motor skills and things like that. And so the second you said that, I was like thinking, I'm like, there's going to be something in her neck. Cause obviously I haven't heard the full story before we started recording. Hello. Hi. So Finn would like to pop in. He's apparently got some things to say. But and then with your spine and stuff, it is crazy how much your spinal cord affects so much.
Right?
And then you throw in an autoimmune disorder of, whatever it is, and it's just like, oh my god. What when did you start abiding hysteria, and what actually like really pushed you to start it?
I actually started it just this spring. So I kind of put together the project this spring of 2025, and I just started releasing episodes in the summer of 2025. So my fourth full episode is coming out this August, like next week from where
Mhm.
we're recording now. So
Yeah.
it's a very new show. The reason that I really got pushed to tell my story and to tell the stories of others is my husband. Actually, he encouraged me
Aw.
to really take this to the place of other people getting to hear these stories and create this community together. I'm hoping to possibly put together like maybe a Discord or something like that for the
Yeah.
future, so that people who are listening to the podcast and stuff can discuss it in a safe place. And also we
Right.
could do things like, hey, I can recommend this doctor here because they listened the first time.
Yeah, that's a big one. I have several friends that have dealt with not being believed, and of course it's even worse when you're trying to get on disability. When we had tried for me, I they automatically denied it. I think it took 22 months for that appeal to go through. And I was thankfully lucky enough to be still living at home and my bills paid, but that's not everyone else. Um, so that system really needs to be changed as a whole in general. But what is some of the feedback that you have gotten from starting Abiding Hysteria?
That's a good question. Most of it has just been thank you for doing this and
Mhm.
for giving people a place to tell their stories. There's lots of different venues out there right now to tell your story, but having sort of the long form podcast as a way to really get everything out there is nice, because when you tell your story on, say, like TikTok or Instagram
Mhm.
Reels or something like that, you only get a certain amount of time to tell your whole story. And it's nice to be able to kind of dive into the details and go, okay, here's where things went wrong. Here's where things went right too. And
Mhm.
say, like, call out the people who were amazing along the way, or call out the things that were the most difficult, but also talk about things like where we find hope for the future too.
Right.
if you had somebody who is like really on top of the research and they're Googling all of these like health journal articles and stuff to try to help you, it's so nice to just have somebody admit they don't know something and to find somebody who does.
Yeah.
And so it's just been a lot of saying thanks for doing this. And I hope there's more. So I'm really encouraged by that feedback, especially from my mom, who's my only patron right now. But it's so nice. It's so nice
Right.
to have somebody like that encouraging you and saying they're proud of you and stuff like that. It's really helpful, especially early days with starting a new project.
Hmm. How daunting was it to hit publish on that first episode?
Oh boy, it was so daunting because my first guest on the show, I mean, besides the fact that the first like episode 0 as I call it, but it's really the first episode, is just kind of a short form, about 20 minutes long story of me and like why I'm doing this,
Hmm.
the healthcare journey that brought me here and that sort of thing. So putting that out there on the internet, it can be really scary. And
Yeah.
it made me, though, realize how much courage it takes to be able to put your story out there. And it made me appreciate so much more the people who are coming on my show and telling their stories. But the first guest that I had on, her name is Dr. Catherine Ferris, and she is the Chief Medical Officer for the South Atlantic Region Planned Parenthood. So she's a really big deal.
Yeah.
And to have her as my first guest was like amazing.
I love.
But also I was like, I really hope I'm doing her justice with this, like how I've edited it and everything, because I'm editing my own show and producing and everything like that. So it's all me. And I've done a podcast before, but this is a much more intimate version of that. So it's really nice to have the ability to have the freedom in editing how I want to. But then also, I'd like to do people a courtesy and go, okay, here's your episode before I put it out there. Is there anything you need me to change?
Hmm.
And also dealing with like anonymity in episodes. Like there's somebody I
Yeah.
recorded with recently who's going to be anonymous. So I'm working on anonymizing their voice and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's been great. Just especially on Threads of all places,
Dude.
finding a community on there
Yeah.
has been phenomenal. The people on there have been so encouraging, and I'm really excited with how that community there is going to grow.
Yeah. And to kind of jump off of what you said of how scary it is being vulnerable, when I did my solo episode, I went over the entire timeline because it's been since 2011 for me. So we've got a decently similar a timeline on, you don't really remember life before all of this almost,
Yeah.
because I don't know if you just like black it out, or it's just been so long that it's just like this is just how it is now. You get used to the new normal, blah blah blah. But when I like sat down and I really like spelled out exactly what had happened and how my disability happened and what I'm dealing with now, it was terrifying. It was terrifying hitting publish on that, because I was like, most people that like know me know about it, but at the same time, the bigger the pod was getting, I was like, I got to get ahead of this so this isn't some like big surprise when people run into me. And but it was still scary to be like, hey, this happened. And it's like, I don't know why it was scary, and I don't know why it was so hard being vulnerable for almost 2 years before I finally, took the leap, because there's nothing to be ashamed of when it comes to becoming disabled, but we still have such a weird, skewed, ableist look on things
Yeah.
that it's almost like, yeah, I'm disabled, but I can still do this, this, and this. And it's like, that's okay. You know, like, there's a spectrum of disability, and some people are able to do more than others. And, some things are more difficult for people than it is for others. And, things like that. And I think normalizing the fact that there are multiple different spectrums of disability is also what we need to be doing as a society to kind of help, because there's invisible disabilities too.
Mm-hmm.
POTS. That's an invisible disability until, you straight up pass out of nowhere. And then it's not
Yeah,
so
then you go,
invisible.
huh, that's odd.
Like, if you see somebody walking around with a service dog, like, it's probably so. I just assume that, people that are walking perfectly fine out of the disabled parking, and, I'm like, there, it's an invisible disability. It's fine. It's fine. But there's even some things that I've had to kind of wrap my head around, of like the internalized ableism.
Absolutely,
That one's a big one.
100%. And that's, I think, telling people the phrase, I'm fine until I'm not, has been
Mhm.
really helpful in getting people to understand the invisible disability because
Yeah.
for me, it's like a graph where,
Mhm.
I'm kind of in the middle, and then bam,
Yeah.
low, where
That's
like
literally.
uh, everything is bad and I can't do anything.
Yeah.
And then there's like, it'll kind of like come back a little bit and then
Mhm.
be fine, but at a lower level because my energy is depleted. And then bam. And I'm also bipolar. So then that involves
Oh,
manic and depressive episodes as well. And
yep.
so when you're manic and also in a disabling place,
Yeah, that
it
doesn't go
just,
together.
the anxiety is
Mhm.
overwhelming. But it also puts you in this place of like, I can do it. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. And you like power through whatever it is you're going through. And then you're not able to do anything for like a week because you powered through for that 1 hour or however long it was, and uh tried harder, as it seems like people tell us all the time, like, oh, you just got to try harder, you got to try
Ugh.
yoga, you got to drink more water, you
Have you
got to,
tried yoga? I
oh my
swear to
god,
God,
yeah.
that phrase alone makes me just like,
Or like, your labs are normal, you should be fine. And it's like, mm, I really hate the should part of it. And I saw a commercial or a PSA recently that was like, don't should yourself.
mhm.
And I thought that was really interesting, to help with kind of detangling the inner uh, ableism that we have for
Yep.
ourselves. Because I will gaslight myself all the time and be like, are you really in pain? Do you really need to take your medication? Or are you just making it up? And I'm like, well, if I was making it up, I would know
Mhm.
because I'm in my brain. Like,
Yeah.
it's so
But
funny because you're just like
yeah.
constantly gaslighting yourself and trying to like be this, like doctor person going, okay, I have to be objective about my own experience. And you're like, actually, no, I don't. I can
Yeah.
have my experience. And when I'm in pain, I need to take pain medication that's been prescribed. And if I'm not doing that, then I'm not taking it as prescribed, which is going against everything that the doctor has told me. So listen to the doctor and your body and take your pain medicine. And, other things like, remember to eat food.
That's a big one.
Or, yeah, that's a really big one, especially
ADHD
if
and my
you,
schedule do not coincide with
ooh,
eating.
boy, yeah. And
It's so bad.
with the pot stuff too, for me at least, it's a lot easier on my body if I eat every like hour to 2 hours or so
Mhm.
all day. And if I eat meals, then I'm doing myself a disservice because I'm more likely to pass out because my blood sugar will drop and my blood pressure will drop and my heart rate will start to go up. And then I start to get dizzy and I'm like, why am I dizzy? Like, Rachel, get it together.
Yeah.
But it's
No,
a lot to remember.
it is. And like, I remember when I was there was nothing they could do for me surgically, so I was going to be in a wheelchair and on pain meds for like the rest of my life, and this is back when I was 20. And I mean, we had a chart. We had a notebook because we could not keep track of how many medications.
Hmm.
And it's a lot different now. I'm not really on anything except I think like meloxicam, because unfortunately I've gotten so used to my pain level that it just doesn't exist anymore, kind of thing. So
Oof.
people are like, "Are you in pain?" And I'm like, well, my zero is like somebody else's four."
Yeah.
Sort of, ish. Like, I'm sure if I actually like tuned into it, I'd be in agony right now, but we can't do that. So it blocks it out. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's kind of the thing, is that's also kind of the internalized ableism. Like, there's the hustle culture where you have to go, 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 and you can have it all and you can do it all. And but we're also trying to keep up with a very able-bodied society. And like, we're not, so do we push ourselves to the point where we're going to be stuck in bed for 3 business days? Yes. Do
Hmm.
we swear we're not going to do it? It's like when you swear after a really bad hangover that you're never drinking again, and then you start drinking again the next weekend. That is
That is
literally
exactly
what we
right.
do. We're literally like stuck in bed and like can get up to get the DoorDash and pee, and then it's like I really need to start taking it easier and listening to my body and not powering through. Are we going to actually do that? No. No, we're going to do this again, and it's going to be worse because we're not getting any younger.
For me, it's the as we call it, and my husband and I, we call them family obligation picnics, where it's like, you've got somebody's birthday or an anniversary party or Christmas or Easter or something like that. That's like, you're gonna go do something with family, and it's like,
Mhm.
is it worth powering through to do those things? Because you only get so many of those things with your family, and who knows what's going to happen with them in the next year. Let's take the time and do these things. And it's awesome to be able to do those things in person. But occasionally I have to leave early or I can't go because I am feeling so terrible that if I were to get up, I would pass out. Or the other day when I did go to a family gathering, I ended up having to leave after about an hour and a half because um, well, it felt like I had dislocated my ribs.
Oh, oh, I've
Um,
had a separated rib before. That is not fun.
I'm not exactly sure what happened, but after a while, things popped back into place. But it took a good few days for it to feel better. And
Mm,
yeah, things have been kind of going out of joint a lot more recently. So that's not been fun, but I'm glad I left when I did because I barely slept that night. I was in so much
yeah.
pain. So I mean, it's all about trying to figure out what your priorities are, and also making sure that your health is like the top of the list, because
Yeah.
when you're dealing with, especially with chronic illness and stuff like that and chronic pain, you've got to prioritize your health. Otherwise, you're going to end up with your health prioritizing you, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
It's
no.
going to come for you one way or the
Yeah.
other.
It's what did I see the other day? Don't like you need to like take it easy because otherwise your body's going to choose for you and it's going to be at the most inconvenient time. But
Oh,
it's
yes.
but it's also like combating the guilt of not being able to do something because again, the internalized ableism, I should be able to do that. And to quote Amy Lanius, which I do way too much on this podcast, but she's amazing. You don't should all over yourself.
Ooh, I like
And
that.
I've been trying to like stick with that, especially in the last year since I've heard that. And I was like, ooh, yes, like balance is bullshit and don't shit all over yourself. And I'm like, I've been trying to like tattoo those in the back of my head, or on me somewhere. I don't know. But it's hard because I have actually lost friends over it because I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry. Like, I can't come out. I literally, because like I can tell when I'm not doing well because it sits in like between my shoulder blades, like this weight. So that's how I know that I'm about to flare like a mofo, and or I'm doing too much and I need to like tone it down a little bit.
Yeah.
And even doing this podcast can take me out sometimes. I'm sitting here, I'm not doing anything, but I'm animated, I'm talking, I'm actively listening, and that takes a lot out of me. There are times where I shut my laptop and I go crawl into bed and I'm like, if anybody speaks to me for the remainder of today, I'm going to cry.
Yes, and like sometimes it gets so bad, for me at least, with my like autoimmune whatever it is, that I describe it as it hurts to have skin.
Oh God,
Yeah, cuz it's
I
like
know that feeling.
fabrics and all that stuff, like I can't with anything unless it is like a certain type of fabric,
Mhm.
because if anything touches me, if my temperature gets even remotely off, I
Mhm.
am like crying in pain because it feels like Um, ooh, uh, you know what it reminds me of is the time that I got into some insulation foam,
Ooh, ugh.
some insulation like the fiberglass insulation,
Ugh.
and I got it on my skin. It feels like that, but on your whole body.
Mm-hmm.
It's awful. So
Yeah.
don't do that.
I remember when I first started dating my now ex-husband, I was like, we need to go back to the house and I need to get sweats. And he's like, okay, yeah, we can get comfy. And I'm like, no, no, no. We need to go now because I was wearing jeans at the time. I'm like, if I am in these pants for another 5 minutes, I am going to be sobbing because it's starting to feel like I am getting like acupunctured with chainmail. And that was the first like real kind of thing he and I, God, it was the first couple of months that we were dating. And he's always been great and super understanding with all of this and still is for the most part. Um but like, there's it's so hard to explain to somebody that doesn't have, because I've got sensory issues on top of it. So the sensory issues on
Mhm.
top of my nerves deciding to go haywire is like I actually like my entire body is lava.
Yeah.
And that's just how I describe it to people. I'm like, it's like sitting in a vat of lava. And I just, if it's touching my neck, if it's touching me, like I will cry. I will absolutely lose my mind. And it's so hard to explain to people that don't have those issues.
Yeah, the worst one for me was when I had neck surgery and didn't cut my hair short beforehand,
Ooh.
and my hair was constantly touching the back of my neck, which also had the collar on it. So
Mhm.
my neck was always hot
Ugh.
and it made it itchy,
Yeah.
which you don't want when you're dealing with healing.
Mm-mm.
Like
No, I had that on my whole back.
heat and
Thank
healing
you.
and getting itchy like that is it's so
Ugh.
bad. So for this last surgery, my mom got me a cooling blanket so
Mhm.
that like I could have my heating pad on my back and the cooling blanket on my front so I wouldn't get overheated when I had the heating pad on.
So smart.
Game changer. It is so nice because if the
Mhm.
blanket gets too hot, you can just take it off for like 5 minutes and put
Mhm.
it back on you and it's cold again. It's so nice. So if you have sensory issues about temperature, I'm telling you the cooling blankets are totally worth it. I got mine for like
Mm.
$30 and it's amazing.
I'm getting one because I am a bitch with heat. I cannot do heat. So when like I've got about an 18-inch scar on my back because I mean they had to go basically up into like where your bra line is, all the
Mhm.
way down to the bottom of my back to, you know, get me open to
Yeah.
work on everything. And that healing in the middle of summer.
Oh. Oh no 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 no
Oh my
no no.
god, it just itched. I We would literally take like towels, like wet towels that we'd basically put in the freezer, and I just was ice packed all the way up.
Mhm.
And then they take it off because you can't do it for more than 20 minutes. And I was just like, okay, 20 on, 20 off, 20 on, 20 off. Like I was literally like, I don't even care if like my skin literally freezes. The second it was off, it would just itch again. And you can't
Oh
touch it.
yeah.
On top of the fact that it gives you the heebie-jeebies because you got all those sensory nerve things with scar tissue. Like I don't know if you can touch your scars, but I can't touch mine. If somebody I'm dating like runs their hand up my back scar because they're like, oh, it feels nice. I'm like, I'm going to punch you
Interesting.
right now.
I
You
hadn't
can't do
really
it.
thought about it. It doesn't like bother me a whole lot, but I haven't really dealt with that a whole lot either.
Yeah.
I I'm not bothered by the visibility of my scars,
Right.
which is nice because like I have several on the front of my neck now.
Mm-hmm.
My coolest one is on the back of my neck though, because I really want to get it tattooed to look like a zipper. Uh,
Oh,
because
I had a tattoo store
it's
too.
the street cred would be amazing.
Right?
But um the one on the back of my neck is much more tender than the other ones because I've got
Mm-hmm.
two low back ones and then I've got three on the front of my neck and then one down the back of my neck. And the back
Mm-hmm.
of my neck one is the most tender. I think maybe just because it's closer to a lot more nerve centers.
Yep.
Um, but it doesn't bother me super lots. But if that skin gets dry at all,
Ooh, yeah.
it will itch so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like anything else can be dry and it won't bother me that much. But if
Mhm.
that part of my neck is dry, I cannot stand it. So like I'm super super aware of putting sunscreen on that area because if it got sunburned,
Oh,
I would be so intensely uncomfortable. And
yeah.
so I'm like, okay, we are not risking that at all. I wear hats, I wear long sleeves. Like, I'm not out in the sun as much as I can avoid it, which is a shame because I had tickets to a concert this past weekend that I couldn't go to because this heat bubble we're in
Yeah,
is
no.
so, so bad. I was like, there's no way I'm going to make it through that concert. It's just not for me this time. I was like,
Mhm.
you know what? Somebody else will have fun. And they did, which I'm very happy about
Yeah.
because it went to a good home.
Yeah. No, I also have a tattoo on my back. It's like right, but it's like right below my shoulder, but like between that and my shoulder blades. It's um it's a pair of scissors
Oh,
and the
nice.
perforated line on each side.
Ooh,
Um
I like that. I might do scissors instead.
yeah, like like the cut here kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I've got that on my back now. It's far enough up that if like well, it's a when, not an if. When I need another surgery, because they'll have to go in and detether my spinal cord and do all of that again. And then within a month of that, before my spinal cord retethers, they're going to have to go in and fuse because I have a 55-degree scoliosis curve on top of it. So they're going to
Oof,
have to go in and
goodness.
fuse my entire spine, which is going to be an absolute blast. And I'm putting that off until the absolute last emergent second. It's not going to have to happen anytime soon, but like, I'm just trying not to think about it. But I put it far enough up that if they have to go all the way up, they won't cut into it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I think we might be okay. Because I basically put it like right into the only part of my spine that's actually like where it's supposed to be.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
I put a lot of thought into this, but it's just like it's kind of that dark humor thing of like, this is where we're at. And I used to not want to show my back scar off because I didn't want the questions, but frankly, walking around with a cane, you get people running up to you out of nowhere being like, "Oh, what happened to your leg?" So maybe I should show my back scar more often so that people could ask me what happened to my leg
Yeah.
because it
There you go.
wasn't my damn leg. It was my freaking back that just blew up out of nowhere. So, it's so fun. It's so fun.
Yeah. When I first had to get a cane, I well, first of all, I was upset because it was in my 20s and like it just felt
Mhm.
wrong that I
Mhm.
was getting a cane for myself and
Mhm.
admitting that I needed a mobility aid was really hard.
It
But
is.
I found on Etsy that there are people who take the canes and glue, like just hot glue, those like like the plastic rhinestones all
Yeah,
over
you like
them.
bedazzle it.
So I got a bedazzled cane, and I have to say, I have never been happier than using that. But I've been considering getting like a rollator because it comes with a built in seat.
Oh
So then
yeah,
wherever I go, I
you
have
can
a
sit.
place to sit down.
Mhm.
Because if I get dizzy, I can't just like sit on the floor because who knows if I'll be able to get back up.
Right.
But a friend of mine has a rollator and she recommended it. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have to hot glue it with rhinestones everywhere. Like, it's just who I am now.
Everyone keeps being like, "You should bedazzle your cane." I'm like, "No," and it's partially because, like, it would just bring more attention, and I'm just tired of the attention. I just wanna, like,
That's fair.
exist and live my life. Like, anytime somebody's like, "I'm gonna bedazzle something," I'm like, "You do it. I love that. Like, make it flashy, make it loud. Like, let's go. I'm all for it." For myself, I'm like, I just wanna blend in with everybody. I'm so tired of
Mm,
answering questions. I'm so tired of, like, random strangers. I'm just so tired of all of that. Like, it's not anybody's business kinda thing.
exactly. Yeah.
So it's really like I'm just trying to blend in as much as possible, and I'm pretty sure a big flashy, like, mobility device that I already have, like, would just make it more obvious, and again, it might be the internalized ableism just a tad, but it's also just like, why can't we just, like, function among society without being looked at like we're a sideshow?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Um, what I find interesting is that there are not more like designer mobility aids.
Because we're trying to hide them all in the closet, like, "Go,
Yeah.
back in, back in the
Like,
closet, you go."
I would love to have like a Burberry, cane, like with that pattern on it,
A Michael
with like
Kors.
a diffuser or
I'm
something
such
in
a
it.
millennial.
Like, oh my God, it would be so nice to have like a scent diffuser in my cane or something like that. So
Ugh.
like I could have my perfume with me
Oh my
at all
God.
times or something, or like a rollator that's got like
Yeah.
the beautiful fabric pockets instead of like the homemade whatever pockets I have to make because people don't
Right.
make those pockets pretty.
No.
So I mean, it's interesting, like, because we've got a whole spectrum of people who just want to like
Right.
have the functional versus the like stylish and everything
Mm-hmm.
in between. But it's also like it can be fun too if you
Can it be
want it to
pretty?
be. Like I would love to make mobility aids that are like cute,
Mm-hmm.
almost like the kawaii kind of, like, for kids but also adults who like that kind of aesthetic.
Yeah.
um like I used a squishmallow to help with my neck after surgery because I had
Mm-hmm.
surgery where they went in the front and the back.
Oof.
And so like laying back on something was really difficult. So I had to like have a support. And
Yeah.
the only thing that worked was this squishmallow that's like a long unicorn. And I was like, if it was just like 50% firmer foam on the inside, it would be perfect for
Mm-hmm.
recovering from neck surgeries, or as like a lumbar pillow too. I was
Ooh,
like, it'd be so
lumbar
cute if
pillows.
somebody like put those together and made like cute, fun medical devices, because nobody else is doing those right now. And it's like, if it's going to be expensive, at least make it fun.
Right, exactly. And can we like this is a slight soapbox that I have been bitching about forever. Can we stop making accessibility things in a house luxury? Like a walk-in shower with a bench is still like a luxury item. And I'm like,
Hmm.
no, it's so that when I'm like literally basically like Bambi assing it to the shower because I need to take one,
Hmm.
I'm not like I'm able to actually take one and I'm not worried about falling or anything like that. And it's just like,
Exactly.
there's certain things that are actually like accessibility like requirements that are still luxury whatever in houses and I'm like in apartments and I'm like
Hmm. Not
why?
to mention like hotel rooms and stuff like that
Oh my
too.
god. Yeah.
Trying to find like an Airbnb that's accessible and stuff like that too. It's
Mhm.
it's difficult. Not to mention all the things that have gotten like grandfathered in, so that like if they're
Mhm.
historic buildings or stuff like that, if you go to a town that's all historic buildings, good luck,
Mhm.
because you're not going to make it through there.
A railing? What's that?
Yeah, exactly. Or like even if you're just like fat and you're in a historic building, like I can't sit down in those chairs.
Sorry, I'm literally listening. My cat decided to walk through the thing and
Oh
almost
no.
knocked my entire thing over. So I'm like over here trying really hard and he's not getting that he's got to lift his leg.
You're
And
lucky
he
my
just
cat
did
is
it
not in
again.
here, because she would be like all over the whole screen, like pawing at it. It's
I literally kept Finn from doing it and I'm like this is why I need an actual studio. Like my next apartment is going to have a studio with a door
nice.
because I can't with these. I mean, they're great. They kind of add to the chaos and add to the brand, but at the same time, like if y'all could just not. And then he's over here like rubbing against my leg, like, Mom, I love you. I'm sorry I almost just completely derailed your entire recording, but yeah,
Oh
it's
no, you're good.
it's just really disheartening to see things that we need to function as quote severe air quotes normally as possible being touted as all these luxury things and I'm like it's not a luxury when this is literally like I don't want to say life or death but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even the fact that like we don't have access to like period products that are relatively inexpensive because of the pink tax on everything, where like if it's a woman's version of whatever it is, it's going to be more expensive, or lower quality and more expensive,
Well, what's
like
hilarious is
razors and
I
stuff like
prefer
that.
men's razors. I feel like they do a
Oh,
better job.
same. Absolutely,
So I'm
100%. I
like
have not,
bamboozled.
yeah, I have not bought like a women's brand razor in probably 5 years or so, because the men's razors are just higher quality and usually cheaper.
They are cheaper. And then like period products aside, the ones that don't have a bajillion chemicals in them,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
are really expensive. So, and it's just those things that are just why are we making it more difficult? It's like
Hmm.
we're still people. We're allowed to exist. Sorry to sorry to disappoint you.
Yeah. And I
So,
think, especially you see that in, like those YouTube videos and stuff like that, where they're like reviewing these products and going, you don't need this product. And I'm like, well, actually, if you're disabled, then that would be super useful. But like, especially people, and I'm going to call it Alton Brown on this, that you don't need any unitaskers in your kitchen or things that only do one thing. And I'm like, well, there are a lot of people who benefit from unitaskers in that,
mhm,
like, they're unable to do that thing without the unitasker appliance to help them or the gadget to help them. So it's
mhm.
like, um, take it back a step. Like, only the Sith deal in absolutes. So,
No, a
you
thousand
know,
percent.
chill out on that.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll see it in our lifetime, people being more accepting of chronic illness and disability. And I don't think people realize like how quickly it can happen to literally anyone. Cause I
Yeah,
had that
I think
experience
there
and
will
that
be.
humbled me.
I think I think we're on track for there to be more understanding for sure
Mhm.
because COVID has been such a disabling uh, illness.
Yeah.
And because it attacks the vascular system and the nervous system and stuff like that, I wouldn't have found out that POTS was even a possibility if it hadn't been for people posting about their POTS coming about after COVID, having had COVID, um, all over the internet.
Right.
And so understanding that my symptoms were something that a lot of other people were having, the generations that have been dealing with COVID are going to be dealing with a lot more chronic illness because of
Yeah.
it. And so understanding that we're all going to be going through this together, I think probably will help in understanding chronic illness and chronic pain. Not that I wish it on anyone
No,
because
not at
it's
all.
freaking awful, but
Mhm.
I think a lot more people will understand it eventually because we're dealing with all of these illnesses that come about through viruses and stuff like that.
Yeah. So to kind of wrap a little bit, what is next for you and abiding hysteria?
So, next for me is a very good question. I am sort of in flux in a lot of different ways, but I am focusing in on this podcast. I'm so excited. I've been encouraged to write a book, so we'll see if that happens at some point in the future.
Mhm.
Um, and my next episode that comes out in August is the story of somebody who went viral on TikTok. So I'm really excited to talk to her about her experiences and the experiences of other people who came on her comment section to tell their stories.
Mhm.
So it's really interesting to see how that all happened. I'm scheduled to interview somebody who is running for Congress soon, also, who is in the
Amazing.
healthcare field. And I've got a bunch of friends who I've already interviewed. So right now I've got interviews booked through like um, I think through the February episode right now. So I'm
It's so
like, I
crazy how
have been
fast that
recording
happens.
so many people.
Mhm.
And so I'm getting caught up, doing a lot of editing and improving so that in the future, hopefully I can start to do more episodes as like bonus episodes on Patreon and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Starting a community in one way or the other online so that we can all be together and talk to each other about our experiences
Mhm.
and also just encourage and support each other too, because I think that's super important that you don't feel alone in
Yes.
your struggles. Also, um, my sign off for every episode, and I think this is really important to remember, just whenever you're dealing with your healthcare, you deserve to be heard,
Mm.
understood, and most of all, believed.
That's such a huge one. You would it's so simple yet so not happening.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, understanding that the while the onus may not be on us as patients to advocate for ourselves and educate all these doctors, nurses, insurance people, and stuff like that, it is where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so learning to advocate for ourselves and sort of be activated and active participants in our healthcare is so important right now in helping to dismantle the biases that we see in our healthcare systems.
1000%. Rachel, you're on everywhere you get your podcasts, right?
Yes. So like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, I put
Excellent.
them on YouTube too with just like a static photo. And yeah, you can find me at Abiding Hysteria pretty much anywhere, um, except Twitter. I'm not really on
I
Twitter
don't think
much.
anyone's on Twitter.
Yeah. I'm on Red Note though. So I mean, I feel like that kind of makes up for it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. As a fellow spoonie myself, like, we need to be heard a lot more than we are.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.